We'll try and hammer it home.
I'm here with, I'm saying the legendary Elmer Tippe. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, well, thank you for asking.
All right, so I know you were born in Eton, Saskatchewan.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that either.
No.
I wasn't old enough to recognize it, so.
Okay, and what age did you move to here, to BC?
BC was 13 years old.
You were 13 years old?
Yeah.
You were born in 1933,
Yeah.
right? Okay. I know you had a fond of music growing up the whole time, right? Because of a grade 1 school teacher, is that?
Well,
Is
not
that
grade
correct?
1, it was a elementary school teacher. It was her first year of teaching. I'll never forget her name. Her name was Elsie Pauli. I want the world to know that. And she was just a super lady. She was, you hear people in school systems today talk about they're going to drop music as a subject in school. Wrong thing. That's one of the greatest subjects there is. It's as important as arithmetic or science or anything, but it's because it's music is a feeling, and feeling is something you can't really teach, and the music could help bring it out in kids and naturally, and I think that's a grave mistake when they talk about dropping it as a subject in school.
But you didn't do that.
We didn't do that. She gave us the opportunity. She said that she knew how to chord on the guitar and the banjo, tenor banjo, and she could play a little bit on the fiddle. And so anyway, anybody had an inkling to do this, just let her know and bring the instruments to school, and we'll help you where we can. And she did that. We got us started. So my dad bought us a fiddle, which we didn't have at the time. And my uncle Fred Baker, he lent the family his guitar that he wasn't playing, so we used that to learn on. And we didn't have a banjo, so what she used to do is tune the first 4 strings on the guitar and tune them to a banjo, tenor banjo, and then you chord it on the guitar like would on a banjo, and that's how I learned to chord on the banjo. But my brother Clarence, my late brother Clarence, who was a super guy, he was learning to play guitar, and there was always a fight between where we were going to have a tune for the banjo or the guitar, because so he'd get me in trouble by complaining about every time he picks up a guitar, you got to retune it. But
Okay.
we got by, and my grandparents' mom's side, her parents, they moved from Industry, where we were going to school then at that time. They moved, we all farmed on the Horseshoe Ranch there. And they moved to Vancouver here, on the coast. And my mom had to be near her parents, so boom, she got her way.
And throughout that whole time, you were still playing music and everything, and through
Yeah.
high school you played, and
At home, yeah, just
at home.
singing at parties and stuff or what have you.
Okay. And then you formed a band at one point with Uncle Clarence, right?
Well, we had and the pictures up on the wall there, it was Ray's Harmony 5, my 2 brothers, older brothers, Clarence and Ray. And we named it Ray's Harmony 5, the band.
Okay.
And a couple of friends, one on the accordion and another one on the piano, joined us in the band, and we played for dances throughout the Lower Mainland here, Fraser Valley, from Harrison to Vancouver. And it was a great beginning.
Right. Now, throughout playing, like, because I know you went to CJJC, how did that come about? Like, you were playing music.
After we moved out here to BC, the coast, and we had the band going. The band was playing for several years, and Clarence, I'm sorry, I forgot the year that My brother Clarence was killed in a car accident just up the road here, head-on collision. And apparently the other guy was stone drunk, and then I decided I didn't want to play anymore. Clarence was the band leader, and he took care of everything. He played drums, called the square dances for us in the band, and the dances we did.
Okay.
So then I quit for a couple of years, and then an old friend in Hammond, he loved Western music, and of course I loved Western music, so we got it together, and he had a band at the time too, and so we did some jamming together at their place all the time. Alice and Dot and Buzz. They had a little 26-foot trailer that they lived in, a mobile trailer. And that's where we jammed and learned to play more Western music, country music. So then, after that, Rudy Hayden had started a band, and he was looking for musicians, so he hired both my oldest brother Ray and myself. Ray on bass and me on fiddle. And we played with him for a number of years. And Joe Chesney, who was a disc jockey at CKNW years ago, and on CJOR as well, playing country music, started this little radio station in Langley called CJJC. And he hired Rudy's band to play for a church dance and fundraiser in Surrey. And I was working at the time on the road selling bakers and restaurant supplies for a firm in the Mission. And I'm driving from home here to Hope on this Tuesday morning, and that's my territory I had was from Hope to Vancouver on both sides of the Fraser River. And on my way up there, I'm listening to CJOR at the time, and they're playing country music, and Joe Chesney is on the air, and Ray Price had a hit record out on the charts, and of course they were playing the playlist at the time. So he played, says here's Ray Price with his latest hit, trying to copy our good friend Elmer Tippe, because they all thought it sounded like Ray Price, which was a compliment, but at the same time, I couldn't carry his guitar for him, never mind sing like him, but he was my hero. And so I nearly drove off the road hearing my name on the radio, and you what kind of a deal is that? Wow.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Especially again compared to Ray Price.
Yeah. And then, so he hired us for this dance job for his church in Surrey. And that's when he made the comment after the dance, and Joe did a real family type show, a local show, you know, he talked about local musicians and stuff, and which was kind of neat. And that's how I got started. So when when he started the radio station in Langley, CJJC, he asked if I'd like to go to work for him and get him the radio, and I said, I had a good job at the time, and little did I know that a few years down the road I was going to get canned or laid off anyway, and so that's the way that ended up. And so
he
later
offered.
I went on the road. I went back into the dry cleaning business with a local firm, Swain's Cleaners, here in Haiti, and ended up that I didn't want to do that anymore again. So I quit that and went back on the road, driving door to door, picking up laundry and dry cleaning. And that was my life.
So Joe offered you a job and you said no.
Yeah.
And then you did other work and you got let go from your one, then you went to the other one for dry cleaning and you didn't like that, so then you went to another one.
Yep.
Did you go to Joe and say, hey, is this still open? Or?
No, then we were working a Legion one night in Vancouver, 6th and Commercial, and with Rudy Hayden. And in the crowd, unbeknownst to me, was a special person that helped change my life considerably. And his name was Hank Rogers. Frankie
Okay.
Rogers' brother,
Yeah.
who was a great
Yeah.
fiddle player and my idol, and I just loved the way he played fiddle.
And Hank
Still do
played.
to this day, and Hank was a steel player and a lead guitar player.
And in your band too.
So in the intermission, he asked me to go over and sit, have a beer with him and his wife, and so I did. And so he asked me then if I'd be interested in that summer go back to Alberta and do the singing in their band. And they had a 3-piece band. So I asked Joe what he thought about the deal, and he said, well, he said, they're, as far as I'm concerned, I said, they're a pretty good family and pretty honest people. Give it a try. And then he said, if it don't work out when you come back, he said, come see me, I'll give you a job, working in radio.
Okay.
So that was 1966. It was a big year. I opened for Ray Price and Kamloops in May of that year. And and I'm working with the Cherokee Cowboys. Are you kidding me? Well, I was so nervous, I went to, my mouth dried up. I went to wet my lips when I was singing. Tongue hung up in the corner of my mouth. I couldn't move it because it was, my mouth was parched. It's a nerve thing. And anyway.
Now, and you're known for singing Ray Price tunes as well. So
that really made it tough. So I had to do things like squaws along the Yukon and did a couple of Jack Green songs, which is pretty close to Ray's stuff. But
and didn't you didn't I think you mentioned to me before you did a song in Kamloops, or a version of a song in Kamloops that Ray ended up.
no, it was yeah. Well, it was on that show. That's right.
Yeah.
And the title of the song is Too Late. And this was in May when we did this. Ray went back after his tour ended, and they did an album, and lo and behold, they released the album, and Too Late is on the album. And I don't know whether it was just a coincidence or
if he heard
somebody said, hey, Ray, you should do that song. It's a good song. It's a good cut. Album cut, you know. So anyway, I like to take credit for that. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know.
You can do the dance. Fellas, we're gonna do it.
Although my papa didn't like going on the road sometimes, he hated being away from his family.
I came so close to coming home today.
It was tough, and I didn't like it. That part of it, being away from home. So I came back home and
And you met with
went
Joe.
over to see Joe Chesney, and he handed me a rate card. And he said, "Go out and sell some radio time." So that started it, the radio thing. And Joe didn't like me on the air because it sounded too much like a hillbilly. And
Really?
and he was really hard on proper
enunciation
diction, enunciation, and all that was right pronunciations. So I struggled with that, but see, when I was on the road in '57 with Brother Ray and George Ledoux, Buzz Lundgren, and myself, I was known as Zeke, and we were known as the Pine Mountain Boys from Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
And boy, I was humming them songs and talking lots to like them, you know.
Okay.
So every time I got behind the mic after that,
You would just do that.
that kicked in.
Okay.
Just-
So it was like a
It was a-
reflex.
Yes, it was a tough deal.
So how did you go about not doing that then?
Well, I didn't.
You didn't.
Best I could, I did. I tried, yeah. But a lot of people still said to me when I was working at WX, said, "Are you an American?" And I said, "No, Canadian." "Well, you sound a little American to me." And I said, "Oh, sorry about that." But anyway,
And then they go,
Got away
oh,
with
okay,
it.
Canadian. You just said sorry, so.
Yeah.
All right. So how long were you at CJJC for?
What, 9 or 10 years, I guess it was.
Okay. And when you were selling radio time, like Joe, would you do like the location type stuff, or what?
Yeah,
what did
some
you
of
get?
that, yeah.
Did you end up getting your own?
We had a
own
little
show,
office
or?
in Haney, in downtown Haney, and
Okay.
Every once in a while, well, what happened was we went to a show at Queen Elizabeth Theatre. CJJC was involved with bringing the big country acts into Queen Elizabeth Theatre in Vancouver.
Right.
And I don't want to sound braggadocious, but at any rate, program director at the time thought it'd be a good thing to, sell out crowd at the Queen E to introduce all the jocks that were on air, So he did that, and my name come up, and I got a bigger hand than the regular guys on air. So he just said, "What the hell's going on here? What was that about?" Popularity. Well, okay. So we got to get you on the air, he said. That kind of followed me. So at any rate, we did a little bit of it, but so I did an hour show from Haney from 9 until 10 in the morning, just playing records and just being me, which were the good old days in radio, when people on air were recognized and let be known, let them be recognized, not like nowadays it's just all like canned music and that's it.
Yeah, and you got to kind of have freedom
Free
of what
hand,
you played,
yeah.
right?
That's it.
Like you
That's
played what you wanted as well, right?
A lot of people would say, a lot of people liked it, some people didn't. Like, I remember one person saying to me that, "I like listening to you, Elmer," because he said, "Well, when you're on the air," he said, "I'm going to hear some fiddle music." And I like fiddles, Other people would say, "Damn, those fiddles bother me, I don't like it." So, you're going to have that.
Right. You're not going to be
Pro
able to
and
please
con stuff.
everybody.
Yeah.
So did it get any longer when you were at CJJC? Like, did you just have the 1 hour and that's it, or?
For a while, on weekends, on Saturday night, I worked from 6 to midnight. At that time, we only had a license to operate from 6 to midnight. Weren't a 44-hour radio station.
Okay.
So it ended up that I thought I wanted to stop playing music for a while, and so I took on the Saturday night gig at the radio station to play records, which I did for about a year or so, and then I remember playing "God Save the Queen" and "Say Goodnight at Midnight." Tune us in at 6 in the morning. Dave Cash will be here, or whoever it was. I think it was Dave at the time. At any rate, that's how that all worked out.
Okay. And then you went on to and for that, like, again, you had no like educational background with radio. You just
I asked Joe about it, and if you thought I should, go to take a radio course, broadcasting course, and he said, "Oh, you should just do a lot of oral reading and be natural with your reads." I said, "That's the best thing you can do."
okay.
So I did that.
And then so you went from CJJC and then you went to CKWX.
Yeah, in 1974.
Okay. What made the jump? Like, what was the reason for that?
Well, I got this letter one day in my mail slot when I come to work in the morning, and we had a one-on-one meeting with the sales manager, and he was the manager of the radio station at the time, and he stated how disappointed he was in me and how I took the radio station for a ride. I'm a commissioned salesman. How do you take a radio station for a ride when you're
Yeah.
a commissioned salesman? You know,
Yeah. That's
you only
kinda
get
weird.
for what you sell. You're not drawing a so-called paycheck, you know, same amount every month, no matter what you do. So at any rate, I read the letter and the information, and he stated that he suggests I leave the radio station in November, and the date and the terms. So I said, yeah, good enough for me. So I took it back in and I said, yeah, I said, I'll accept that. And he said, what, you quitting? I said, hey, dummy. I said, you just fired me. I said, you got it all here, black and white. I said, what the hell are you talking about, quitting? I said, you got the amount of money you're going to pay me out, which I never got. And he knows who he is, but at any rate, and the date that I was going to leave, and like the terms.
So it was pretty much like a resignation letter that he wrote, like a pink slip, pretty much.
Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah, like a kind of like that, like.
In soccer, they call it a red card. You're gone. You know, that's what it is.
Right. Okay, fair enough.
I don't know whether it is or not, but anyway, that's what I got.
Okay.
So then, what do I do now? Well, I thought, well, you know what? I always wanted to do music, so I'm going to try and do music.
All right.
But at any rate, then friends again. That guy that I knew, and he was and he was a good guy. He shared a business, an advertising agency with another guy in Vancouver. And Ed Ferry was his name, and he was looking after one of the accounts that I had, which was the sale of motors here in Haney. And so he said, what are you going to do now, Elmer? And I said, I haven't got a clue. He said, what do you want to stay in radio? And I said, yeah, if I could, but I said, where? And he said, well, keep my ears open. So his agency and all the other agencies in Vancouver and the area were invited to a Christmas party at CKWX, which the radio stations do. And he was talking to Tom Peacock, and they had just switched to country music at that time for about a year or so. And so he asked Tom how it was going. Tom said, great. He said, right now, he said, I'm looking for a all-night disc jockey. And he said, oh. He said, what are you looking for? He said, well, he said, I want somebody that knows the music, you know, and to be a riddle of this. He laughs when I say it, but it won't more my words. And he said, it's like a good forerunner to Red Robinson's show in the morning at 5:30. Worked till 6 to 5:30 every night. Well, my dear wife just didn't like that at all. She didn't like being home alone at night. But nonetheless.
And by that point, you had like Mom and Uncle Rick and Uncle Gal at that
Yeah.
point, right? You had the 3 kids.
Yeah.
So how old were they at that point?
Oh gosh.
Probably still young, like toddlers,
Yeah.
like 5.
Oh no, they were older than that.
Oh, they were older than that.
They were in their low teens at least, I think.
Okay.
13 and 14 and stuff like that, I think, yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, I went in to see Tom, and we came to an agreement, and best boss I ever worked for. He was just a great guy. Left us far too early in life. But nonetheless, he was the guy that gave me a chance, and he had a habit of just walking up behind you and pinching you in the lower thigh. And if you're walking down the hall or something, say you're just wasting your time there on the all-nighter, you know. said, we gotta get you in the daytime. And at that time, they had when you had a contract with the Broadcast Board of Measurements in Canada, I mean, you had a hell of a time to get out of it and change it. Today, it doesn't seem to matter, but at that time, they had a talk show from noon to 3. And they wouldn't let them change that format. And they want me to be 24 hours a day with the country music thing. And he wanted someone to do that. And he said, I think you're the guy to do it. And I said, whoa. I said, I ain't no hotshot DJ, Tom. And he said, if I wanted a hotshot DJ, Elmer, he said, they're out there, they're a dime a dozen. He said, I want somebody that knows country music and is going to present it like he knows it. And I said, well. And he said, furthermore, he said, you know the artists, and we want to use your time to interview, and that's why I got all these pictures of the different artists from Nashville and that. And they all would be on my show. I would do interviews with them all, and, which was a treat.
I was just thinking back to our earlier days when we were both so young. The kids playing in the yard, don't run off now too far. Watch out for the car.
And so when you were with CKW, like you said, you interviewed a lot of Nashville artists. Like I know you MC'd shows too, right? Like you when I was came to town. Now one was Johnny Cash, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you interview him as well on the radio, or did you just MC the show? Or
With Cash, I never did him on air. A lot of the big artists I didn't do on air. I gotta be honest about that, but most of them, a lot of them I did. As you can see by the pictures on the wall here, that
well, yeah.
But Johnny Cash was a good guy too, and I remember him seeing the show, introducing them at the Queen Elizabeth on stage, and standing in the wings beside him, and man, he's tall and dressed in black, including the boots, high-cut boots, and I said, you know, standing alongside of you, Johnny, I feel like I'm standing beside Abe Lincoln. And that's the kind of persona that he oozed with, you know, just incredible.
Was there an artist that you wish you did interview, like on air? Was there an artist, was there one artist that you, looking back on the career, and you going, oh man, I wish I could interview that artist. Who would that be for you? Or is there one?
Not really that I can think of. I did a lot of them, and I guess the closest one would have, if I did him, and I probably he was on top of my list. Marty Robbins was just marvelous.
Okay.
Tommy Overstreet.
Yeah, Marty Robbins had quite a bit of hits too.
Oh,
Yeah.
are you kidding?
Yeah, he had a lot. El
And he was
Paso.
such a gentleman, such a nice guy.
Yeah.
And the other one was Chet Atkins. I remember he came to town. He was performing with the Vancouver Symphony, doing a concert. I don't know what the Queenie or where it was, but anyway, he did it more than once. He did it with Floyd Kramer. He did the Vancouver Symphony with playing Campbell. And this last time he was in town, he was on his own. And I remember he was on with Bannerman on CKNW in the morning, in his talk show.
Okay.
And I thought, how the hell am I going to follow that act? Because I'm no Bannerman when it comes to interviews. And so anyway, I'm on my way to work that morning, and I'm driving down the freeway, And I'm thinking about this, and all of a sudden it hit me. What are you worrying about? For crying out loud. Who's going to hear your interview that heard Bannerman's?
Right.
Probably not too many. And if there's a lot of them, all the better, but nonetheless, what are you worried about? So I didn't worry about it at all. And I went in. Chet Atkins came into the radio station. We shook hands before we went on the air. And he was in another room. And I was just talking to him through the glass. I loved Chet Atkins. He was a great actor. And a great gentleman, just a super nice man.
Yeah, you could
And
definitely.
his brother, Jim Atkins, I think his brother's name was Jim. No, it wasn't. It was the name of the song, Jim Wore a Tie Today. That's what the title of the song was. It was a narration thing that Chet did. But at any rate, I said, by the way, and I heard through the grapevine that his brother was a great singer, had a great voice. So I mentioned that to him, and he said, yes, he said, my brother, he died a few, and I said, oh, I'm sorry about that. He said, well, don't be, Elmer. He said, how would you know? He said he wasn't a household name, and he said, I'm pleased that you know about him, and that you mentioned him. So he just took me right off the hook, you know, like just like that, just like a pro that he is. And world's best guitar player. He's a dandy.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you enjoyed Vancouver and your trip here, and you bit the symphony? And I said, the show went well. And he said, yeah. He said, I always enjoy it here. He said, it's great. Anything about this trip that you enjoyed the most? And he said, well, right now, he said, I got to tell you, my most enjoyable part of my trip was this last hour sitting with you, Elmer, talking with you. And whether he meant it or not, I don't care, but he said it.
You cheated, you lied, but these tears in my eyes, yeah, you don't let it rain on my parade.
And throughout the whole DJing, you still played music though, right? Like you still did your music thing on the side while DJing?
Well, not to that extent, no. I just, when you guys invite me up, that's when I do it.
You have how many albums though that you did? 2, 3?
5.
5. Okay. So, and you were doing that throughout your DJing though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Well, it took me 82 years to get on YouTube.
took you 82. Yeah. That video was from 1987 that was
Yeah.
posted on YouTube last
Yeah,
month.
yeah.
Right. And that was a TV show called Number One West with
That's
Brian
right.
Sklar. Was that was the show?
Brian Sklar and Prairie Fire. Good guys from Saskatchewan. Fritz Elbert is where we did it.
Okay. So you did that show, and then you also did that West Coast super country thing. That was that thing with the whole dance hall and the sheriff.
The spoof
Yeah.
show, yeah.
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah, it was planned.
Okay.
There was a gentleman who had a show on VI in Victoria. He thought he'd like to do something with this, and so we said, okay, let's give it a shot.
And did you have fun doing that, or was it just like, why?
Well, I did,
You did?
yeah. But it worked out okay.
So you did that. So you've done radio. You did some TV shows. You did a commercial too, right?
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, I know about that. That was
Brownie's Chicken
right.
commercial.
You did a few TV shows.
Are you trying to tell people that I was working all those years? That's
hard,
good if you are.
yeah.
That's good if you are.
You
I
were
don't
pretty.
know if I convinced them or not, but
You were really busy. I didn't think you were that busy.
oh,
But now looking back at it, yeah, that's quite a bit. And you did Man and Woman. You were in a movie too. Not just TV.
Yeah.
You also did a movie.
That's right.
You were
the big
the-
silver screen.
Yeah.
It was a good little movie. It was shot in Vancouver.
Yeah, and you guys played the band at the
Yeah,
barn dance, right?
At the P&E Fair at the time,
Right.
and that's where we were, downtown at the P&E.
That's incredible. Yeah, you were incredibly busy back then. That's for
Well,
sure.
there was a lot of things happening.
Was there anything that you enjoyed most out of all the things that you were doing at that time? Was there one thing that stood out that you looked forward to more than anything else? Would it be playing music, or would it be?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Super
I guess.
Country and myself, I really enjoyed the guys. It was incredible.
Well, and like with music and with everything, you're in quite a few Hall of Fames, as far as I know. Like you're in the BC Country Music Association Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
You're in the Canadian Country Music Hall of Fame for broadcasting.
Yeah.
You're in the Western Swing Society Hall of Fame. Is that right?
In Sacramento,
In Sacramento.
Seattle. Yeah, and then Hall of Fame here in Maple Ridge.
Right. The Ridge Meadows
Yeah.
Hall of Fame. Yeah. So. Obviously, you were busy enough for them to recognize that you were around.
Well, I think I bothered them enough. The only way they get rid of me is to give him a
Give you
little
a plaque.
card to say that he's this, and then we won't have to put up with him anymore. I don't know.
And you're part of.
I thank them all. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're also part of, because this is new. The Pitt Meadows like century, like 100 years. Like you're in
Yeah.
that. You're in that category too.
Yeah, I was. Yeah. I have had a good life. My family, my wife, she was the foundation of it all. Looked after all of my, raised our children, which she did a fantastic job. Got 3 of the finest children in the whole entire world. They blessed us with 6 wonderful grandsons. You're one of them.
Yeah.
That's why this is being done, is because you're one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I know
appreciate
that.
it, but
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. No, I'm grateful he said yes to doing this, and plus because I've heard some of these stories, but because of that, that's also why I wanted to do this. Like even the Charlie the Trucker thing that you did, that album, that's like a story in itself. And
It was a wonderful opportunity, and that I was blessed with. I did a lot of things there was a lot of things I could have done that I didn't do, and that I should have done that I didn't do. But anyway.
you also
I'm
owned
not
a
gonna cry
bar.
over spilled milk, huh?
Yeah, you also owned a bar too. You had your own nightclub.
We had a club, yeah,
Yeah.
I was a part of it. The 3 of us were in on it, yeah.
And then how long? What time? Like what year was that? That was what, late?
Probably late 70s,
Yeah. So same time.
mid to late 70s, yeah.
And how long did you have the bar for? Was it just like a couple years or?
We had it for about a year and a half, I guess, and then this finest con artist I was ever subjected to or got to know came in and said he needed the club, and everything is for sale at the right price. I mean, whoo. So we agreed, and we moved Elmer's place, and he had a great story. He brought a Filipino band over and promised them the world, and they wanted to get to Canada, no doubt about it. One of them is still a very good friend to this day, and who you know well too.
No, was that Jerry?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And see, he wanted the band to stay here. Well, for them to get access to Canada, they have to prove that they have a job, you know. So it ended up that being a musician, traveling musician, band anyway, hard to identify that.
Yeah.
So with buying the club, he would hire them at the club and they have a steady job there.
Right.
So that would make it easier for them to get status here in Canada by having
Having a job that's
Yeah.
consistent in one place.
yeah. But nonetheless, like you said, that's another story.
That is. But yeah, okay, so Jerry was part of that band. And Jerry's
Wonderful
an
individual, yeah.
an incredible musician and was part of our band as well for a period of time.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
yeah.
Well, okay. Well, I thank you a bunch to agreeing to do this. I really appreciate it.
Well, my son, I I must say it was a pleasure to get this all off my chest. No, I mean, it's hard to do without sounding braggadocical, but I'm really humbled by the fact that even your own family is interested in what you're doing. And that's generally the last to come forward and say, well,
Yeah, usually.
so I appreciate that a whole lot, Trent.
Well, with that being said, that's it for this episode of Behind
Like
the
we
Mic.
used to say in sports on air, that's 30.